Welcome back to PowerPointer 257 C++ tutorial series. In this video, we are going to cover a few topics. We're going to be covering Boolean variables, we are going to be covering operators, and then a couple of logical operators. So without further ado, let's get into it. So first things first, Boolean variables. This is the one type of data type that I actually left out of my data types videos because I thought it would be better fitting in this video. So anyways, the syntax of how you declare a Boolean variable. For those of you who've taken discrete math or a logic-based mathematics course without any programming experience, or those who do have some brief programming experience know what a Boolean variable is, it can hold the value of true or false. Now you assign it into a variable just like any other variable. If we're set Boolean x equal to true, and then set Boolean y equal to false. Let's print out x, and then I'm in this line, and then I'll print out y. And we're going to get 1 and 0. So whenever something returns 1, it means it evaluates to true. Whenever something returns 0, that means it evaluates to false. So without getting too far into it, because it's going to be in some of my future videos, but if you were to make something called a function, right, and you didn't want to print out a value, or you didn't want to necessarily return a numerical value or return a string or whatever, you just wanted to know that by entering some values, it either makes an expression true or false, you could make that a Boolean return type and return a Boolean variable. And if it's true, it would return a 1, and if it's not true, it would return a 0. So that's really briefly on Boolean variables and how they work and why they're useful. Now, they're also, let's get into some operators now. There's going to be six main operators we're going to cover today. 6 main operators and then 2 logical operators. The first one's going to be the double equal sign, which is the comparison operator. Then there's the not equal sign, which compares to see if two things are not equal to each other. Then we're going to have the less than operator. We're going to have the greater than operator. Wow, not what we wanted. Then we're going to have the less than equals, and finally the greater than or equals. Okay, so let's go over these one by one. Just going to comment these out really quick. And okay, now that we have the knowledge of how Boolean variables and how true or false in computation in computer science works, let's just print out some expressions. Let's not even use variables for this. Let's start with this top one. We're going to start with this one right here, the double equals. And now this is a comparison operator. It's going to compare if two values are equal to each other or if they're not. And so in this case, you can see that the value 4 is equal to 4, and this should return true, which will return a 1, right? But if we change this to 3, all of a sudden it's going to turn a 0. It's not true. Or print out a 0 rather. But you see how that works. So if we were to type in 2 variables for an example, remember how we just covered cin. So let's say we have int var and then int var1, and then we say cout enter var, and then cin var, then we're gonna cout enter var1, and finally cin var1, right? And then here we're gonna compare these, right? Var is equal to var1, right? And so in doing this, enter var 5, enter var1, 6, 0, because these are not true. 5 isn't equal to 6. But if we were to equal 5 and 5, boom, 1, because it is true. So that covers the comparison operator. One thing I want to emphasize really quickly, this is very different than this. When using a single equal sign, you're assigning something. When using a double, you're comparing. Double equal sign, you're comparing. And so in this case, you're assigning this variable right here into this, or this value into this variable. That's what you're doing in this case. Whereas here, you're checking to see if these two values are equal to one another. And so that pretty much covers the double equal sign. Now let's talk about the not equal sign. And this is the syntax exclamation equal sign. So now if we type in 4 or 5, this is going to return true, because it's true that this value on the left is not equal to this value on the right, right? It's pretty self-explanatory, or pretty simple. Not necessarily self-explanatory, but simple. See, now if it's true that they're equal to one another, but we're trying to see if they're not equal to one another, and they aren't, or they are equal to each other, so they're not equal to each other. So it returns a 0. So that covers those, or that one. Now, assuming you've dealt with some basic trivial mathematics, you'll probably know what a less than or a greater than will do, right? In this case, it returns false because this value is greater than this value, or this value is, yes, this value is greater than this value, right? And that's not what we're looking for. We're trying to check and see if this value is less than. So if that value is less than, let's type in a 2 and a 3, it's going to return true, right? Because it's true that var is less than var1. Same thing with the greater than operator. Same thing with the greater than operator, right? Now we're going to run this. Is var greater than, or which is 4, is greater than 3? Yes, it is. It's going to return true. If it's not, if you type in 4 and 5, it's going to return 0, right? And so then these are the last ones we're going to get into, the greater than or equals, and these are critical for things such as, it's very important for things such as for loops, which we haven't gotten into yet, but because your for loop is going to run until the middle condition evaluates to false. So it could be, there could be a big difference between setting, having a loop that has a less than and a less than or equals sign, because that could be the difference between, a value being evaluated true or false. Which could be big, could crash your program actually. So anyways, this, just like basic mathematics, right? If it's 4 or 4, even though var technically isn't less than var1, right? It's still going to evaluate to true because it's equal to it as well, right? If it's 4 and 3, it's still going to evaluate to true because, or excuse me, var is less than or equal to var1, right? 4 is less than, or I'm sorry, guys, sometimes I'm stupid. 4 is definitely not less than 3. Please, sorry, mind my stupidity right there. So let's run this again. If we go 4 and 5, this is going to be true because it's true that var is less than var1. I'm sorry, I'm not smart. But it's a similar thing. If we go greater than or equal, it's going to be a similar type deal, right? Let's enter 4 and 2. It's true because now it's true that var1 is greater than var2. Alrighty, so really quickly, we just went over all of those. Those are the 6 main operators. But now there are these things called logical operators, and this is the syntax for both of them. We're going to talk about the double ampersand, which is the AND operator. This is how I want you to think of them. Don't think of a double ampersand. Think of them as AND. And then these have vertical dash marks. If you have a Mac, I think it's like the 4 all the way on the right, and like the 4th one up, right above the backslash. Anyways, and I want you to think of this as OR, right? So and OR, right? And this is why we think of them as AND or OR. Let's start with the double ampersand AND, right? So what if we didn't just want to evaluate one expression, but we wanted to evaluate 2 at the same time, right? And then let's declare 2 more variables. Let's just say x and then int y is equal. Let's set this equal to 7 or something, right? So we want to test to see if var is greater than or equal to var1. But then we also, or let's just change this to a double equal sign just for simplicity. And so we want to see if these values are the same, and then we also want to check if x and y values are the same, right? So now let's enter. Ooh, what happened? Let's put these in parentheses really quick. Oh, I'm sorry. No, it's I didn't comment that out. I'm sorry. I mean, yeah, I typically like to put things in parentheses anyways, but it will run either way without parentheses. But whatever. So let's go. And what did I do now? Oh, there's only one bracket. Oh my God. I'm sorry, guys. I keep making these mistakes. I'm sorry. You guys don't deserve this. But okay, let's make var and var1 equal to each other, right? They're both equal to 4. Now, why is this evaluating to false, even though this expression we know is true? The reason is because when you're using the double ampersands or the AND operator, both sides of these expressions have to be true for that general expression, this whole thing, to be evaluated as true. If one or the other is false, the expression gets evaluated as false. So let's make these equal to each other, and we'll see what happens. If we enter var, now we see var is 5, which is equal to 5, x is 4, which is equal to 4, and so now the general expression, this entire thing, gets evaluated to true, right? Now, we know x and y are the same, but if var and var1 have different values, it's going to evaluate to false again, right? Because both sides have to be evaluated to true. That's why I want you to think of it as and, because it's inclusive. Both sides are taken into account. And now, let's have that carry into this next guy. Or, the or operator. I'm going to comment this out really quick so I don't make that mistake again. But when you have the or operator, all this is going to make sure is that at least just one part of this expression is evaluated to true, right? So, for example, let's make var and var1 not equal to each other. Let's say 4 and 6, right? But it still evaluates to true because this side of the expression is true, right? So it checks this, nope, not true, but then it also checks this. And since this is true, the entire expression gets evaluated to true. If this was an ampersand, double ampersand, right, like an and, it would check this, it would see that this is false, and boom, immediately right there, it's false. The expression is false. It wouldn't even go to this and check that. But with the or operator, it checks all scenarios and makes sure that at least one evaluates to true. Let's try this again. Let's give them the same values now. Now it's true once again. Or excuse me, that's not what I should have done. I should have done this because we just did that. 3 and 4, right? Now it's false because both this side of the expression is false as well as this side of the expression is false. So with the double ampersand or the and, it means that the entire expression has to be true. The entire expression. If anything within that expression is false, then it gets evaluated to false. But with the or operator, if anything in the expression is true, it's going to get evaluated to true. So we just briefly touched on Boolean variables, printing out true and false, how that's going to either return 1 or a 0 to the console. We covered these logical operators, the comparison operators, the not equals operator, greater than, less than, greater than, equal to, less than, equal to, all these different topics. And most importantly, these logical operators, because these ones are big, especially in upper level of programming. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Keep watching, keep practicing. These skills are going to be really, really, really helpful down the line, just having this knowledge. And stay tuned, guys. I hope we're going to have a lot of fun programming. Alrighty, till next time.